The top 5 voiceover freelance sites. Welcome back, VO fam. So one of the questions that I get the most is, where can I sign up and get work without having to pay hundreds of dollars up front for like a pay-to-play site? So today I'm going to break down the top 5 voiceover freelance sites where you can actually sign up right now today without paying a dime and start getting a little bit of work to maybe reinvest in your business. I'm going to talk about what makes each site unique, some of the pros and cons of each site, and maybe which site might be the best for you. And be sure to stick around to the end because number 1 is the best possible site for you to jump onto right now today if you haven't already and start getting voice work. Before we get into it, trigger warning. If you're one of these people who hates on freelance sites like the ones I'm going to talk about today, I would hate for you to get all in your feels about it, so you can just move right along, and if you're going to leave all that money on the table for the rest of us, that's fine. Okay, kicking things off at number 5 is Casting Call Club. Now, this site's a little bit different from some of the other sites we're going to talk about in that it's more geared towards indie creators. Think of things like video games, animation projects. A lot of these projects on this site are either very, very cheap or sometimes even unpaid, but it is really good to kind of get on there and, I've said it before, start working that muscle of recording and editing and working with clients and scripts. So here's some of the pros for Casting Call Club. Number 1, it's 100% free, so you can sign up today, no charge. The second is it's good for practicing, auditions and just kind of get used to doing the process of recording and editing. It's also, if you want to do character work, it's a great place to kind of dip your toe in the water for that because there ends up being quite a few of those kinds of jobs on there. Now here's some cons. The cons are, as I said earlier, a lot of jobs on there are unpaid, so you're not really going to make any money. And a lot of them are just there for fun kind of projects, or exposure is another way they like to put that. And we all know that exposure doesn't pay the rent. So it's not really a site where you'd want to put, a lot of focus into because you're not going to be able to build a solid career just using Casting Call Club. So Casting Call Club would be for the straight up beginner, just getting in there, learning how to do the recording and editing. If you are character focused, you will find a little bit more on there for character work if you just want to kind of build a portfolio of different jobs, but don't expect to get rich on this platform. Coming in at number 4 is freelancer.com. And freelancer.com is one of the oldest freelancing sites out there. And it's not just for voiceover, it is for all kinds of work. And they've been around forever, but they do have a category for voice work. So some of the pros here, once again, it's free to sign up. There is a massive amount of work that can be gotten on there. Lots of small voiceover gigs that you can kind of go in and search around. This one's interesting because you have to apply for the jobs. They don't just come to you when you set up your profile. It's also global, which means that you can get jobs from all over the world. Some of the cons for freelancer.com is it's extremely competitive. And because it's such a large marketplace, you're going to be competing against a lot of other voice talents for some jobs that may or may not pay very well. Another con with freelancer.com is that they take a cut of every job as their fee for creating the site. So don't expect to get 100% of your earnings. Just remember that they're going to take their little piece just for being there. So the reason why freelancer.com isn't number 1 is because there is lower pay on there and there is a high level of competition. So it's fine if you just want to add this to your revenue wheel or whatever, just to kind of fill in the gaps. But I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in voiceover work on freelancer.com. Save that for some of the ones I'm going to talk about next. Coming in at number 3 is people per hour. And that is one that is primarily used in the UK or in Europe, but it's worldwide. You can join it. And it's kind of interesting because it actually has kind of a hybrid system. You can actually create offers for jobs that are posted, and people can actually come to you. Some of the pros for people per hour, it's free. And if you want exposure to a lot of UK or European clients, then you're going to get a lot of those there. There are two ways to get jobs. You can apply to jobs. You can have people come to you. And it does have really good built-in like secure payment systems and that kind of thing. Some of the cons are that it's a little smaller marketplace, so it can take time to build up some momentum, especially if you're outside of the UK. The platform also takes a cut of your earnings, just like the others, but it's definitely not as much of a robust platform as some of the bigger players.
And now for something completely different.
If you struggle with marketing your VO business, don't worry, you're not alone. This is where lots of people get stuck. But never fear, because this month's live masterclass is all about direct marketing. And it's all going down on October 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific. In this live 90-minute class, I'm going to take you through the exact steps that my assistant Hannah and I use to keep my VO pipeline full. I'm going to cover why your website is so crucial to your VO marketing and best practices for your site, my steps for researching who to reach out to, my exact email process, when and how to follow up with potential clients, using LinkedIn to maximize reach, keeping everything organized in my CRM, and tons more. Seats are limited to 100 attendees so we can make sure we get to all the questions. And as always, I'll be drawing a name from all the entrants to win a free seat to the class. And of course, these live masterclasses are always recorded, so if you can't attend live, you'll always have the replay available. Learn more and sign up below in the description and the pinned comment.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And sliding in at number 2 is Upwork. Upwork is a platform that's been around a very long time. I believe it was called Odesk or something before. But they basically, they have opportunities for all kinds of work, VoiceOver being one of those. And it is different from the other ones in that people will post jobs and it's up to you to go find those jobs and apply to them. Some pros for Upwork is that it's obviously free. There's a lot of variety. You'll get all kinds of different work on there, everything from commercial to e-learning to explainers to IVR, anything you can think of. A lot of the clients on Upwork tend to have bigger budgets. I mean, there's always going to be lowballers everywhere, but I've found that on Upwork, they tend to be a little bit better, a little bit more likely to spend more for someone who has experience. Another pro is that you can really build long-term relationships with people on Upwork who will use you over and over and over again, and you can start to kind of develop that relationship. And here's some cons. The first con is they require you to use something called a Connect to apply for jobs. And I get why they do it, because they don't want you to just apply to any and every job out there. They want you to be selective and only apply to jobs that you feel you're a good fit for. So they give you a certain amount of connects up front, and think of these connects as tokens, and you spend the tokens to apply to the jobs. Every month, those renew, and then of course you can buy additional ones for a low price, but those are the connects, so you do use those up as you apply for jobs. Another con is that it's very competitive, just like really all these are competitive, but there's so much competition on there, you really have to have your profile stand out in order to apply to get these jobs and hopefully be selected. So one of the keys to success on Upwork is your proposal. So don't just do the same old copy and paste proposal. Customize it. Talk about the job. Talk about why you're a good fit for it. And that's going to go a long way to being chosen, obviously with your samples. And after a while, you'll start to get some reviews. And once you start getting a few good 5-star reviews, you'll start getting direct invites to jobs. So you don't have to apply. Clients will seek you out based on the strength of your profile, and you don't have to compete against as many people for the job. And finally, coming in at number 1, I'm sure you're all aware, is Fiverr. And the reason why I called Fiverr the number 1 pick is because it is probably, out of all the freelance sites, not talking about pay-to-plays, but of all the freelance sites for voice work, it probably has the most opportunity. And I know Fiverr gets a lot of hate from some of the people in the voiceover community, and I've talked about this before, but I do know people who earn over 6 figures just on Fiverr. Now, this isn't common, this isn't typical, but it can be done. I personally have made over $100,000 on Fiverr over the past couple of years, and not by doing $5 jobs. And the reason why a lot of people hate it is because they think that the jobs that are posted on Fiverr are $5 jobs. And that's the way it started years and years ago. I've gotten top market rates and I've gotten national work on Fiverr. So I always say that if you don't want to do low-end jobs on Fiverr or any of these other platforms, then don't do low jobs on those platforms. Nothing is holding a gun to your head, making you take these low-end jobs. But if you're good, and if you search well, and if your profile is built out the way it should be, you can find really good paying work on Fiverr. So here's how it works. You have something called gigs, and these gigs are basically the services that you offer. And I always suggest that people break up and have multiple gigs because it just multiplies the amount of time you can be seen. So once you have your gigs up, then clients search the platform and they narrow down the kind of voice they want, and hopefully yours is the one that they pick. Some pros for Fiverr, once again, it's free. Another one is that it's got a massive global audience. It's, like I said, the biggest freelance platform out there. You set your own prices. So if you don't want to do low-end jobs, set your pricing on the jobs that you want to get. This is another one where you get a lot of repeat business. So if you do a good job for one client, they'll hopefully keep coming back for more and more. I've had clients on Fiverr for probably 4 or 5 years, and they send me sometimes weekly work at full market rate. Some cons for Fiverr is that they do take a 20% commission, so they get a cut of every job that you do. Another one is that there is tons of competition. Because it's the biggest platform, you're going to be up against the most people. Another thing on Fiverr is that Fiverr, like all the other sites, they've got some very, very low-end clients on there, meaning that they want the world for $5. And to that, once again, I say, if you don't want to do those jobs, don't do those jobs. Another con with Fiverr is that they monitor your response rate. So make sure that if you're getting messages from potential clients on Fiverr that you're responding back quickly, because if you're not, they will start to ding you and could lower your profile visibility. So the bottom line with Fiverr, as well as most of the other sites, is that it's not a place to get the top tier work. It is a good place to start and to get practice and to make a little bit of money to maybe reinvest in your business. Don't expect to get rich on Fiverr, even though there are a few people who have. But it's not bad to add to your revenue wheel. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 picks for free freelance sites to join if you're new to voice work. And even if you're not new, because as I said, I've been on there for several years and have made over 6 figures on that site alone. So don't be afraid to maybe just try it out. Don't put all your eggs in that basket, but give it a try and get used to the process of working with clients and delivering work. Remember, none of these platforms are perfect. In fact, I have accounts on some of these platforms, but it's very kind of secondary to my main VO work, which is through agencies and through direct marketing and even pay to play. There are pros and cons to all of them, but there's pros to cons to every form of voice work. So you decide whether it's right for you. I'm not telling you to do it, but if you want to add this to your wheel, go for it. And no matter what platform you're on, whether it's pay-to-play platforms or freelance platforms or working directly or anything else, remember, the goal here is to deliver good, professional, clean audio, good performance, and if you do that, no matter where you get your work from, you're going to get more work from it. So let me know in the comments which ones of these are you on. Are you getting good work out of all of them or maybe just 1 or 2 of them? Let me know. And speaking of Fiverr, if you want to learn how I made over 170 grand on Fiverr, then check out this right here.